Very good morning, Jai Shri Krishna Guru. Thank you for joining Sai Satcharita Parayan. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, Om Shri Saraswataya Namaha, Om Shri Guru Dattatreya Namaha, Om Shri Mahalakshmi Namaha, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Sai Satcharita, the life and teachings of Shirdi, Sai Baba. We'll continue from where we stopped. We started a new chapter again yesterday, that is chapter 40, the narration of the story of Udyapan. My obeisance to Shri Ganesh, to Shri Saraswati and Shri Guru Maharaj, to the family deity, to Shri Sita Ramachandra. My most humble obeisance, I bow in reverence to the most venerable Guru, Shri Sai Nath. We were doing the story about Deo and how he sends an invitation to Baba to attend his Udyapan, and Baba promises him that he will definitely come along with two other people. Now, for Deo, he has been looking for, where is Baba? But Baba had already sent him a response that he will definitely come. So he had these questions, though the fakir, the other sannyasin, along with two other boys, had come and had the food at the Udyapan. But his mind assailed doubts as to Baba promised, but he didn't turn up. So he's asking these questions. Now let us see what is going to happen and what is going to be Baba's response. So lovingly had I invited Baba, and he too had said to me, this supplicant for his protection, that he would come. But all that was reversed. How I am just unable to understand. Because of my inability to come there personally, due to my dependence on others, I wrote the letter of earnest entreaty and felt truly blessed on hearing that in spite of this fact, you were coming. I felt that you would come under any pretext, under any disguise. But how did it not happen is something that surprises me particularly. Jog narrated the full content to Sai. Listen to what Baba, in great astonishment, said to him. When the letter is unfolded in front of me, even before it is read out, all the thoughts of the writer in that letter stand revealed before me. He says that after assuring him of the truth of my words, I deceived him. Tell him that if he did not recognize me, why did he invite me? Absolutely. Yesterday we were discussing that. The God, the great Lord Almighty, the Gurus can manifest in any form, both in animate and inanimate. I also narrated two of my own experiences, how my Krishna Guruji, when I, mentioned to him with absolute devotion, saying, please come and accept the Naivedya. He said, of course I will accept. So how is not the question. It is about the grace and the faith. He says, Baba has said very nicely here. He says that after assuring him of the truth of my words, I deceived him. Tell him that if he did not recognize me, why did he invite me? See, when you invite, please understand that the divine beings, when they say they will come, they will definitely come 100% in whatever form. It's not necessarily the way you want them to appear, in front of you, not necessarily in the way you think. He's sitting in Shirdi, but he has to, through some magical manner, be present, wherever that place of your dwelling is. It doesn't work like that. But you know what? Imagine me in Singapore, my Krishna Guruji in India, but he says, of course I will come and accept. Accept in what form? That's the most important. It can be animate, inanimate, it can be through any other living beings. Any creature can come and partake of that Naivedya. So they can manifest, both in animals and, some human beings too. So why are you doubting? Again, the whole point of this lesson is that you need to be able to see God in everyone. So that's why it said, let us not say anything bad to anybody, because what happens when God himself has come and is testing you? Aren't you then, losing that grace? You are literally, you are not accepting the divinity. At that time, you are closing doors on him. That is why we have to always be careful of what we speak, how we speak, what we say, because we should not commit any errors in our life. No sins needs to be committed. That is why my Krishna Guruji will always keep saying this. One very important lesson: be your good self, no matter who it is. Even if somebody is provoking you, don't get angry. Be nice to everybody. Have patience, have Shraddha and Saburi. Very important. And always seek the grace to recognize the divine beings when they appear in front of you. Then, to all appearances, I did not move out of fear, yet I lunched at the function. I had said I would come accompanied by two others, and so I had gone with the two. There was still time for the meal, so walking slowly, I alone went. Do you not remember the sannyasin's robes? In this way, I first went. Seeing that I had come unexpectedly, were you not afraid that I would ask for money? And then I cleared your doubts. Did I not say that I will come only for the meal, bringing two others with me, and then came at the proper time with the two and had lunch? See, just to keep my word, I will even give up my life. But the words from my mouth will never ever be untrue. This is the truth. This is the Satya. Human beings, we promise, we make endless promises, but we don't stand by our word. But the divine Lord Almighty, the great masters, their word is their Satya. Every word from their mouth is gospel truth. If they say they will come, they will be there, come what may. So that's what Baba is saying. I will, to keep my word, I will even give up my life. That is the truth they hold. You cannot compare yourself, an ordinary mortal, to the divine master's promise, the word that they say. If I come, if they say they will come there. But same thing with you. You will make endless promises and not even keep one. So don't be like that. This is a very important lesson. If you say something from your mouth, please remember, you have to always obey that. You have to stand up to that. And don't make empty promise or false promise if you're unable to keep up to that. And then when you're not able to keep that promise, then you're incurring karmas. Many a time, my Krishna Guruji will say, see, we promise too many things. But what happens is that, we say something, say, okay, I will feed you this, I will make this sweets for you, or I'll do something, I will buy this for you. We make so many promises endlessly, but we conveniently forget them. Why is that? Because we are human beings. But when the God promises, or when your Guru promises, saying, okay, you will get a good job, you will get your children, whatever that you ask for, he says tatastu, he blesses you. He doesn't go back on his words. If he commits to you, of course it's going to happen. But you also need to keep up to that. That is extremely important. So never make a commitment or never promise something which you will not be able to fulfill. And if you remember, in the earlier stories, we have learned how Baba, just to ensure that some of his devotees who promise some things to him, and when they forget to fulfilling it, he reminds them and gets that promise fulfilled from them. Why? Because they should not incur karma. This is the greatness of the Guru. So, see, just to keep my word, I will even give up my life. But the words from my mouth will never ever be untrue. When Saina said this, joy knew no bounds, for it was the experience of all that the promise once given never remained unfulfilled. Later on, with great happiness, Joe conveyed all this to Dio in a detailed letter. When Dio read it, his eyes were flooded with tears of love and joy. Oh, shame, shame on me that I blamed Sai, he thought, inwardly ashamed of himself. Blessed is Sai's greatness, and shame on my conceit that I know not everything. But I do not understand as to how I was to guess that the sannyasin was Baba himself. Before I invited Baba, the sannyasin had already paid his first visit, and that too for his own work of collecting funds. See, this is what I was talking about. We think we know certain people and we don't look at them as a divinity. Why? Because we look at them as a crass human being or somebody with some ulterior motive. It might be even your enemy or some friend of yours. God can take any form. That is exactly what the lesson is. To see God in everything is so important. And what is Dio saying here? Look, I had already seen this person. So my mind had already made certain assumptions. That is why my Krishna Guruji will say, do not make judgments on anyone. Because God can appear in any form. And then who's the loser? You are going to lose out. Not being able to recognize him. Imagine somebody, you might hate someone the most, and what happens if God manifests in that person and comes at your doorstep? Then you're going to treat him badly, right? So who are you treating badly? Is the body that you're treating or the divine being? That is why we have to always be your good self. Know not when, be ready, know not when God comes. So are you ready for receiving him? This is exactly the lesson here. So, blessed is Sai's greatness, and shame on my conceit that I know everything, but I do not understand as to how I was to guess that Sannyasin was Baba himself. Before I invited Baba, the Sannyasin had already paid his first visit, and that too for his own work of collecting funds. I had already given him the time of 2 or 4 months for coming again. But when that same Sannyasin again came and asked for a meal, how was I to infer that he is Baba himself? But there is only one statement of Baba's. When I come to have a meal, there will be 2 others with me. See, this is where you have to pay attention to what is being said to you. Unfortunately, we are very careless. We don't bother about paying attention. He was very clear. Baba said, I will come with 2 others for the meal. He was very specific. So how do you recognize? There is a clue given to you. But your mind will conveniently blank it out at that moment in time. It is never going to show you. Why? Because your mind doesn't want you to evolve. It doesn't even want you to recognize the divine. Because it says, I am the greatest. So that's what even he says, self-conceit. The mind will always deceive you. But when you have that Shraddha and Saburi, an absolute surrender and love and devotion, at that time you will be able to recognize the divine. So always seek for that grace. Don't go by what your mind is saying. But there is only one statement of Baba's. When I come to have a meal, there will be 2 others with me, which completely escaped my mind. See, this is what the mind does. So don't ever trust your mind. Had I met the Sannyasin for the first time, and that too only for that meal, after my invitation to Baba, then I would not have been deceived thus. But he came in connection with cow protection and for collecting money to feed the cows. I was after this that I sent this invitation to Sai to come for the Udyapan. Hence, it was that my mind was deluded, due to which all this took place. Although he had a meal along with 2 others, yet I only thought him to be a guest, come to have a meal. Had he not been someone I had known before, who had come with any 2 people quite unexpectedly at lunchtime, I would definitely have regarded him as Sai. But such are the ways of these saints, their inconceivable leelas and wonderful doings. Why do you think they're doing this? What does the leela mean? Leela means pastime and stories. What does it mean? It means there is a lesson. Every play of the divine is not just a play. The play has beautiful truth to unfold. And when you understand the profoundness of these great stories, it's not stories. It is narrated in the form of stories, because our mind doesn't understand such complicated stuff. Complicated in the sense, all the scriptures are codices. They can only be unraveled by the divine Lord Almighty, nobody else. So these leelas are performed so that you can evolve on the path of spirituality. You can understand the truth, the spiritual truth, not the material worldly truth. So when you read these things, the essence of it has to percolate within you. What does this mean to you? So which means when you are now in your world, and when some divine master is saying to you, I will come, then you should be able to recount this story. And then remember, oh yes, he can come in any form. So you will be in that goodness of heart to receive the divine. So these are the stories so that you can follow these lessons in your own life. So it is okay, but such are the ways of these saints, their inconceivable leelas and wonderful doings. It is they themselves who plan these functions at their devotees' houses much beforehand. When the devotees surrender at his feet, their auspicious functions are performed quite unexpectedly in the same way. Truly incomprehensible are the doings of these saints. Absolutely, you cannot even fathom. They're totally unfathomable, incomprehensible, inscrutable. What can you talk about these divine masters? You know, it is said the Vedas and Shrutis fail to describe the divine Lord Almighty. So who can describe him? God himself can describe, but even he cannot describe himself, because he's so vast, he's limitless. How can you measure the depth and the breadth of the limitless being? He's Athang Sagar, a limitless ocean. So we just have to dwell, we have to go deeper and deeper, but just be lost in love and devotion to him. That is all you need to be. Chintamani will give you what you asked for. Kalpataru will grant the wishes of your heart. Kamadhenu produces the thing you desire. But it is only Guru, the mother, who gives you what you had never even thought of. This is very, very true. Let me reread this. But it is only Guru, the mother who gives you what you had never even thought of. See, have you ever imagined that when you are under the divine master's grace, when you seek something, your innermost heart's desire, but you don't get it, much later when you go back and look at it, he would have blessed you with something what you couldn't even have imagined or expected. I'm only going to give an example in my own life. There has been times when I wanted to move job. Many a time my Krishna Guruji said, what are you doing? You need to progress, you need to study, work hard, study, put lot of efforts. You have to go and become good in the subject, which means you have to continuously study. Every single day you have to study, keep building yourself. And I've realized if I put that little effort and then I go deeper to understand what it means, I'm able to get the essence of that knowledge. And my Krishna Guruji will say, see, 1 hour of your effort has paid you, a long way. You were able to give a talk, you were able to write an article, you were able to do so many things. But imagine if you have, put in that much of energy and more time in studying, what would have happened? Which simply translates into this example that I'm going to talk about is my Guruji will always say, if you can do this, then something's better will happen. But my mind can only expect very small results out of it. See, again, the result, success and failure is never in my hand. Whatever the result that mind can think, okay, I might be able to do this or I might be able to do that. I need to achieve this. So that's a target and a goal we have. So that's the end result we are targeting. But what happened is, when you least expect it, when you just study and go and do your job, sometimes the results that come about is beyond what you could have ever imagined. And that's what I have experienced. It's the most simple thing. Like I would have gone to give a talk and I've prepared on a particular subject. But as I kept speaking, the words definitely just it just flows from my mouth, which means that knowledge is not something I own, and you can go deeper and deeper. So I was like, oh my God, thank you so much to my Krishna Guruji, because in the whole process I learned a lot too. So it's always a two-way process. Like here in this Sai Satcharita, I'm a narrator and you're a listener. So we both are journeying this beautiful learning. Every single morning we are learning the divine truth. And then whatever you have to get, the understanding you will get. Whatever the understanding I have to get, I will get. But in this whole process, it's always a win-win to everybody. And that is how the great masters work. Whatever event or whatever act they perform, they always see the well-being of everybody associated and connected in that Leela or whatever that might be the case. So it's not about only one person the great masters think about. It's a well-being for everybody. Similarly, the Guru is the mother who will grant you things what you can even imagine, what you would have ever imagined. Because our mind cannot think beyond our nose. And this is the truth. And like we're talking about, right, in some of the chapters where Baba has mentioned that whatever desires your heart desire, right, your innermost being desires, the divine Lord Almighty will fulfill at the right time in his own manner. But that desire, whatever is fulfilling, will be sinless because he gives you something you least expected or you could have ever imagined. Because what he grants is something which is absolutely sinless. And when you accept it the way he has given it to you, and then you will evolve on the path in a very beautiful manner. No karma will accrue to you. And also you'll be very contented. In that there is not craving, oh, I want it, I want more. That will not be there. On the contrary, what he'll make you is a desireless being. You will be able to start being detached from what you receive. You will find contentment in everything, because being truth with your life is very important. Accepting life the way it is and just surrendering, just surrender to the divine. Let him run your life. Why are you bothered? You just need to surrender and do your part of the duties, because like I said again, we have this body has come with some prarabdha karma. So you have to perform those actions. But when you surrender, those actions will be sinless and you will be on autopilot. Yesterday we discussed this, how when you obey the divine Lord Almighty and do everything in time, he is cushioning your karma. The impact is only 10% what you feel. 90% of the impact is removed away. So just surrender and let us evolve, on the beautiful path of spirituality. and attain our spiritual being. There is nothing left in this world. But please remember, this world is equally important, because only through this human birth can you attain God. So human birth is very, very important. So don't waste your beautiful life that is blessed by the Lord Almighty, and make use of it. So coming back, here of course Baba was invited and appeared in the garb of a sannyasin. But so wonderful is this Leela that sometimes he came even when uninvited. Sometimes in the form of a photograph, sometimes in the form of a clay idol. There is no limit to his kindness. Sometimes he appears all on his own. Listeners will be amazed when they hear my experience in this context. From this novel, unique tale, they will also come to know of the prowess of Sai's Leelas. Some may even say of this, is this a true story or some imaginary tale? They may say that what they please, but you should listen to this with respect. Laziness, sleepiness, or exhaustion should be brushed aside. Only then will I be satisfied. When you give me the gift of listening with full attention. Absolutely. Again, I have repeated this time and again that we need to listen and not hear. Let your mind and body, senses, everything be very attentive and listen. Only then can you absorb and imbibe this profound truth which Baba is imparting. For a moment, if you drive away all agitation and put your mind completely at ease, the listening will be helpful. Reflection, constant contemplation will follow. What does it mean? Shravan, Manan and Nididhyasan, which is you have to reflect, you have to retrospect, you have to contemplate, and you have to go in silence so that the knowledge can be absorbed. And you can go deeper, deeper, deeper in this. Silencing is not the mouth, just your talk, but silencing your mind is the most important. Once you silence your mind, and most important is, you don't have to respond to everything. Respond only if it is necessary. My Krishna Guruji will always tell me, what is your mantra? Your mantra is silence. What does silence mean? I know this is very interesting. I never even understood what does silence mean. Silence, I always thought what he's meaning is that, no, I just have to, shut up. I shouldn't talk too much. I thought like that. But he says two very important things. Silencing your mind. Why is your mind talking? Chatter, 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 jabber, 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 jabbers. Why should it talk? Don't allow your mind to talk. Next thing is, silence also means you don't have to react and respond to everything that people are saying or talking about, because they are only talking from their mind. Again, anything that is said using the mind is unreal. So why are you falling prey to it? And that is why you don't go by what people say, either good or bad. That is where you'll be able to attain equanimity of mind. It is very amazing and profound truth. Sometimes my Guruji, makes certain things happen around him. And I'm amazed. How does he deal with? He's just sitting there. He's not even listening to anybody. He's lost in his self. When I say self, it is not the supreme self. He's one with it all the time. He's in the blissful state. Nothing affects him around. It doesn't even matter. He's on autopilot. He'll just do what he is supposed to do. He's totally lost. To attain that stage is very important. And most important thing he was talking about, egos. If somebody says something bad to you or even treat in a bad manner, we say, who the hell is he thinking? Why should he treat me badly? Immediately our mind and ego comes and stands there. Can you tolerate that? That is something very important. And that is when your mind is going to be silenced. How should it matter what people say? But you know what? It's easy said than done. The moment someone comes in front of me and tries to say something bad to me, immediately my mind will come, right? It's going to react. That is the nature of the mind. But how do you practice? By arduous effort, by strictly following it. Don't react. This lesson should stop you from performing that action. That is why we are reading the scriptures. That is why these great masters have written these beautiful leelas. Why? Because we need to understand this truth and apply in our own life. Thereafter will come direct perception, but the basis for all this is listening. It is the essence of these and is certainly the means of safely crossing this worldly life. In the year 1917, on the full moon day, in the month of Falgun, roughly Feb to March, as I was asleep in my bed, I had a dream in the early hours of the morning. just see Sai's doings. He gave me a darshan in the beautiful dress of a sannyasin and making me up in my dream, said, today I'm coming for a meal. Waking up in a dream is also a part of that dream. For on really waking up from the sleep, I try to remember. As I opened my eyes and looked around, there was neither Sai nor anyone else in that place. What I saw a moment ago was just a dream, without the least degree of wakefulness. When my mind was resolved thus, I tried to remember the dream, and in my dream, I recalled each and every letter of what he said, without forgetting in the least. On hearing Sai's clear words, today I am coming for a meal, I felt very happy and told this to my wife. In the mind, in the heart, there was a constant meditation on Sai alone. And this was a ceaseless practice. Yet in this association of 7 years, there was never any idea of expectation of his coming for a meal. However, I told her, my wife, today is the festival of Holi. Remember to cook a quarter seer of more of rice. On telling her just this much, she began to ask the reason for it. I said, today, on this festive occasion, a guest is coming for lunch. So she said, tell me who it is, out of great curiosity. But if I were to tell the real reason, it would only become a matter of ridicule. This too I knew full well, and yet, not to tell an untruth, I narrated the truth to her with great faith. And all this depends on one's faith. As the feeling within, so is the thing true or false. Absolutely. As is your faith, so are your experiences. This depends altogether on one's mind. Try as I would to convince, her mind would not be convinced. She said, why will Baba come all the distance from Shirdi? See, this is what happens. When you say certain things in the material world, people will always doubt and question. They'll not only destroy their own faith, but they'll destroy your faith as well. So never talk anything about to faithless beings. This is something I've understood. Many a time in my own life, when I tell people about my Guruji, they go and make judgments about him by his appearance. It's very sad. And I keep telling people, don't go by his appearance. He appears to be very ordinary human being. And also this, to top it all and to add to all, he wears just a simple t-shirt and a jeans. He looks just a normal person because he's not having any ochre clothes, there's no garb. He's very, very simple. He plays a low key. You know what he says to us? I do not want to draw any attention to myself. I don't want anybody to know me. So he's always in that incognito mode. So no matter how much I say, he's the Lord Almighty, he's Krishna, Guruji himself. The name itself tells you who he is. Yet you will not be able to see. Why? Because your mind is covered with ignorance. Because you're only seeing the physical being. To see him, you need his grace. And he will only reveal to those who he has to. So for that, you need to seek the grace. I or anyone else in this world cannot. So that's your own effort. If you show that grace, he will reveal himself to you. But without that, you will see only his Maya. And it is very deluding. It causes too much of confusion in a human being's mind. Initially, they can come with faith. Later, just see that Maya, that faith goes away. It just breaks like that. That pink color glasses breaks. That's what happens to people because they make judgment. Who's made the judgment? The mind. Because the mind is expecting, Krishna means he has to, have a flute in his hand, he's got a feather in his, hair, there's a peacock, there's a cow, and then he's clad with the pitambari and his blue-hued color. So this is how we have been trained. Our mind is only looking at Krishna in that aspect. But can you see him when he appears in a very normal human being? No, you're not going to recognize. That is what even Baba has been discussing for such a long time. And he's saying that how you recognize the divine being is very important. So seek that grace and don't make judgments and don't be fixated with anything. For me, my Krishna Guruji, will always say, your mind is very fixated. You're not opening up. When you open to this universe, then only you will see the unlimited possibilities that is there. And that is God's creation itself. You can experience, in a very beautiful manner, but for which you have to open up. Open your mind, open your heart, be, ready to receive that grace. But when you're so fixated, when you're closeted with your mind, how will God come to you? So this is a very important lesson. So open up your mind. See and don't doubt. When somebody is showing you faith, you don't be the spoke in the wheel. You don't have to put your, doubts into somebody else's belief, and for which you cannot deter. So these are the ways how Maya will work. The God will try to delude to see how much faith you stand in the divine. So what is he saying? So she said, tell me who it is. So she was very curious, right? But after telling what happens, and this too I knew full well, and yet not to tell an untruth, I narrated the truth to her with great faith. All this depends on one's faith. As the feeling within, so is the thing true or false. Sorry, there's a power cut, but it will come back. We'll continue. This depends altogether on one's mind. Try as I would to convince her, her mind would not be convinced. She said, why will Baba come all the distance from Shirdi? What meal can we offer him? And what holy festival do we celebrate? Leaving the sweetmeats of Shirdi, will he eat our coarse, unsavory food here? So she said. I replied, what big effort do we have to make to cook a quarter seer of extra rice? You are not wanting for a quarter measure of rice. Even I do not say that Sai will personally be this guest, but I undoubtedly feel that somebody or other will come. See his faith, absolute conviction. That is what you must have. You may then regard him as anyone you like, but to me, he will be as Sai. Or rather, I will regard him as none other than Sai, and thus my dream will come true. Absolutely. Such was our dialogue. Then noontime approached, the puja being offered to the holy fire. With the proper rituals, patravalis were laid out for the meal. For sons, grandsons, daughters, son-in-laws and close friends, rows of patravalis, parts or wooden seats, etc. were arranged. Rangolis, colourful and variegated, were drawn around the patravalis for the diners. See, this is a very Hindu tradition, rather the Sanatan Dharma. It's our culture. So in the olden times, people would sit, part is the small wooden, for what you see, you can keep either your food, you can serve on the banana leaf, and then you sit down and you eat on that, or you can sit on the part, and then the food is served, and then they put rangolis. See, that's a respect we give to our culture. It's a very beautiful tradition, and it's very sad to see today we don't have that. We are not following any of this rich culture and tradition. Today we sit on the dining tables, but imagine those days we were all very healthy. There was no leg pain, knee pain, nothing. We were able to sit perfectly down and eat. Nobody had this luxury of sitting on a dining table. Dining table is never even our concept. But today we are losing our culture. Please remember, go back to your roots. Living our culture, values is extremely important. And we are coming, this week is Diwali week. And please make all those sweets and delicacies at home. Put that effort. Don't, buy from outside. We have to live our values, tradition, culture. Don't lose these. We don't have to, import something from somewhere. Why can't we make it here? In India, it is very important. And each one of us have to contribute living our values. For sons, grandsons, daughters, son-in-laws and close friends, rows of patravalis, parts or wooden seats, etc. were arranged. Rangolis, colourful and variegated, were drawn around the patravalis for the diners. Amidst all these, in the main row, a part was put in the center and a plate for Sai and food was served on it. Along with that, for the others, a colourful, bright rangoli was drawn round this plate. For each diner, a metal drinking vessel for water, a little tall cylindrical metal glass and a tiny ladle was laid out. It was the same for all. Papads, sandgas, salads, tasty pickles, along with a variety of vegetables, kheers, etc. was served. Almost all the preparation was over. Seeing that it was 12 o'clock, the diners wore sovle. Sovle is a very traditional and the most pure garment that you wear on puja days, especially when you perform puja. In Krishna Ashram, if you go to our Facebook page or on Krishna Knows page, there is the pictures of Krishna wearing that sovle. it's very beautiful. That is the purest garment, that you adore the Lord, and you have to also adorn yourself, and then you can do prayers and puja. It's worn on all the on auspicious days, or when you visit some holy places. That is the garment you wear, and this is our tradition. This is the culture we have been following from our scriptures. Most importantly, this is not mentioned by any human beings or some scholars who have told how we need to do prayers, but we follow what is mentioned in our scriptures. That's the holy scriptures, which the Lord himself has imparted this knowledge. So seeing that it was 12 o'clock, the diners wore the sovl, or the silken dhoti. So it's made of, it's a pure garment. It's a silk. It's made of the silk threads. And one by one came and sat on the part. Still no guest turned up. All the places were occupied. Rice, varan, chapati were served, and nothing was wanting in that place except the guest in the vacant seat in the center. They all waited for some guest to come. Even I became doubtful in my mind. How long should one wait? So the door was bolted. Anna Shuddhi, or putting clarified butter on the rice, or as purifying of the food, was quickly served. Naivedya was offered, and it was time for offering of various types of food on Vaishvadev. Naivedya was offered, and it was time for offering of various types of food as Vaishvadeva. The diners were about to take Pranahuti, offering food to the 5 vital years. So these are the rituals they follow, okay? Like when you say Pranahuti, means you offer to the 5 elements. And then you say, we first offer the food and say it should be purified, and then you accept it. When suddenly footsteps were heard on the staircase, as someone asked, "Where is Rao Sahib?" The diners sat still in their places for a moment. So I went to the door, as I was thinking in my mind that somebody had come. As I slowly unbolted the door, I saw 2 persons on the stairs. One of them was Ali Muhammad, and the other a disciple of Saint Maulana Ismu Mujawar by name. Both were very happy. They saw that everything was in readiness for a meal, and that the people were waiting, the food being served on their plates. On seeing all this, Ali requested, "Pardon me for the trouble I have given. It appears that you have rushed from your meal for my sake and for you. The others too are kept waiting. So just take this thing, which is yours. I shall meet you later when I have some time, and will tell you in detail the marvelous wonder about this." So saying, Ali took out a parcel from under his arm, and placing it on the table in front, began to undo the knot. As he removed the newspaper wrapping, in that instant was seen a bas-relief of Sai. He said, "You keep this thing, accepting my request." On seeing Sai's bas-relief, the hair on my body stood on end. From deep emotion, my heart was overpowered by love and joy, and at once I placed my head on Sai's feet. When I saw this wonderful Leela of Sai, I thought it to be a great marvel, and I felt that he had blessed me by showing his great prowess in his way. See, the divine masters can come any form. He's come in the form of that bas-relief, and then that is going to be, kept on the center seat, which was waiting for him, and then everybody will partake. So how he comes is, you cannot fathom, and this is the truth. He can come in any form, and imagine these two of them who came were Muslims, and then what is the immediate thought that comes? Oh, they are Muslims. Oh, what are they coming here for a Hindu festival? Everybody is one. There's no Muslim, there's no religion. It's about, we are all spiritual people, we are all divine beings. We're all the devotees and the disciples of the Lord Almighty. That is why we say, Krishna Vande Jagat Gurum. He's the master, he's the guru of this entire universe. But we don't recognize this Jagat Guru, unfortunately. When I saw this wonderful Leela of Sai, I thought it to be a great marvel, and I felt that he had blessed me by showing his great prowess in this way. Out of great curiosity, I asked him from where he got it. He said, I have bought it at one of the shops. Then, without waiting for another moment, they both said, we are both going away now. You can have your meal peacefully. If I begin to explain the reason just now, the people will unnecessarily be kept waiting for their meal. So I shall tell you all that afterwards at leisure. I also thought it to be proper. Moreover, I was deeply engrossed in my own joy at the arrival of that bas relief in the nick of time. So thanking him, I said, all right, you may go. And I shall also narrate the reason for the arrival of that bas relief here later on. What is the need to narrate it today itself? And so, when they were gone, the bas relief was placed on the part in the center. As already decided, all were very happy in their minds. Truly incomprehensible is Sai's Leela. Under this guise, he came and proved his words in my dream. They who had expected that in case a guest arrived at the time, he would come and sit there in a row of diners. Oh, what a surprise it was to them. Everyone was delighted to see the beautiful image in that bas relief. They all wondered how this came about in such an unexpected manner. Thus, when the bas relief was installed, puja was performed and all the proper rites and rituals like argya, padya, etc. After the Naivedya was offered with love and devotion, everyone began their meal. From then onwards till now, on every holy festival, this bas relief gets the puja performed with the proper procedure and all the ashtopachar, along with the other gods in the puja. It is also worshipped in the shrine. Such is the unique Leela that Sai shows to the devotees at every step. And so, the two men kept putting off their visit to explain for 9 whole years. Can you believe? And then you don't even get the understanding how did the bas relief come about, and it kept postponing for 9 whole years. And I did not see them during all that time. By a concurrence of destiny and karma, at last I casually met Ali Muhammad this year as I was walking on the road. On meeting him, I was most eager to ask him about the marvel of that bas relief and said, why have you been silent for so many years? Today, as before, we have met unexpectedly, and as this opportunity has come our way easily, tell me that interesting account. See, again, you must understand very important thing. Knowledge will open up or come to you, and even the understanding can dawn upon you only at God's appointed timing. That is only at the will of the divine. That is the perfect moment, not before, not after. It will only come at the most appropriate time, not when you want it. Or even if you're very curious, that is not going to be unraveled to you. There is a reason why the delay has been there. 9 whole years, can you imagine? And then when the right moment comes, the object will come and stand in front of you, and whatever the knowledge has to unfold, it will unfold. So don't even bother about it. And this is what my Krishna Guruji will very beautifully say. See, he'll tell you have to sit and meditate or you have to be in silence. He'll say, how the meditation has to happen is none of your business. But doing it, putting effort is all you need to do. So being there and doing that sadhana is a must. But when it is going to unravel, how you're going to know it, don't break your head. And then you're never going to learn. Then you're not going to experience anything. Understand, this is the way of the divine. And their ways are very unique. So here also, he was very curious to know it, but only at the right time will that knowledge will unfold to you. There is a reason, and that greater reason we do not understand. I know well that you are also a devotee of Sai, but how did you find it appropriate to come unexpectedly on that particular day only? Then Ali narrated the whole story saying, listen, I shall tell you in detail and see Sai's marvelous Leela, which is full of wonder. What is the significance of this Leela? What is its purpose and what is its essence for the devotees? Sai alone knows this properly. As for us, we should only listen to these Leelas from each other or sing them with our mouths, they being most beneficial for us. Now, the account that follows will be fully narrated in the next chapter. It will gladden the listeners. Sai's story is unfailing unfailingly beneficial to all. Sai, the cloud of joy and without hatred for anyone, should be worshipped ceaselessly and constantly, and you will enjoy happiness and contentment. Your mind too will become free from desires. The chatak bird, for his selfish purpose, entreats the cloud, but the cloud satiates the whole creation. Bala Sahib invited Baba, but Baba then called his devotees too. The listeners are also included among the devotees who have listened to the story of Udyapan so lovingly and thereby experience the joy of Sai's company, indicating their satiety by bletching. How he came uninvited, how he appears in physical form, how he fills his devotees with a sense of obligation, and how he gives them awareness at every step. And so Hemad surrenders himself to Sai. He will get the presentation of the next chapter arranged as he wishes. For the next chapter will follow the same pattern as the last. He affords protection to those who seek refuge, and it is for this promise of his that Hemad embraces his feet, and he also does not push Hemad away. Okay, we have 15 more minutes. I'd rather not start another chapter today, but we'll begin the next chapter tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Because if I start this chapter, then we have to break it in the halfway. So let us begin this chapter tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed this sweet Leela and very important lesson that how you should always see God in everybody. And when the divine Lord Almighty promises you that He will come, please have that faith and He will definitely bless you with His presence or whatever that He has promised to you. We'll be to all. Here ends the 40th chapter of Shri Sai Satcharita, called the narration of the story of Udyapan, as inspired by the saints and the virtuous and composed by his devotee Hemad Pant. Om Shri Mahaganapate Namaha, Om Shri Gurudev Datta, Om Shri Sachidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Digambara Digambara Shripad Vallabha Digambara. Om Shri Krishna Gurunathanatha Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Devi Durgaya Namaha. Om Shri Krishna Arpanam Namastu. Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum. Wishing you all a very good happy day and also a happy Diwali in advance, and please go and make all the delicacies and let's enjoy Diwali in a big way. Thank you for joining Sai Satcharita Parayan. See you all tomorrow morning the same time.